In the sentencing of Simon Levy, he's been given a whole life order for the double murder and rape that he was found guilty of, all of which happened in 2025. Let's cross to our correspondent Daniel DeSimone, who has been listening to the judge's remarks there from outside the Old Bailey. A whole life order is what the prosecution had called for to be the starting point, but it is an incredibly rare sentence to be passed in this country.
That's right, whole life orders are rare. I think there's fewer than 100 murderers in prison who are serving whole life orders. But the judge here, passing that sentence on Levy, he did so because he said that the murders took place in the course of sexual conduct by Levy. He said Levy was ruthless, he was seeking his own sexual satisfaction, and Levy therefore being given a whole life order. What that means is that there'll never be a chance of parole for him. When you get a life sentence, you get a minimum term. After that minimum term, the person who's sentenced can apply for parole, can be perhaps released from prison on licence. That won't happen for Levy. He will die in prison. He will be in prison for the rest of his life. As Sheryl's sister said in the impact statement she read before sentence was passed, she said that she hopes Levy rots in prison. Well, the sentence means he will be in prison for the rest of his life.
And Daniel, it's striking, of course, the level of detail that the judge went to. A lot of it really difficult to listen to and extremely distressing. But as you allude to, I get the impression he did so because he said it was intrinsic and it was a part of how he went about his offending.
Well, that's right. When passing a sentence like this, whole life orders are very rare. A judge will want to make clear in the sentence remarks exactly why they are satisfied that a whole life order is merited, why it's legally merited, and the judge did that today. He set out in detail why Levy meets the criteria, why the murders involve sexual conduct. He said that Levy had a morbid obsession, fascination with sex. He set out evidence that showed that Levy was collecting material on murders and rapes, that material was found in his home, and he set out the detail of what happened to the surviving victim, the rape victim who was attacked by Levy before the two murders. She was raped in January 2025. She was also suffocated and attacked by Levy, really left for dead by Levy. She was left unconscious. He set out the detail of what happened to her as well, because in the trial the evidence was that what happened to Sheryl and Carmenza is likely to have been very similar to what happened to the surviving victim. So her evidence was incredibly important in achieving justice for her and the convictions for what happened to her, what was done to her by Levy, but also in showing what Levy was like, the way he conducted himself, the brutal way in which he conducted himself. And the judge setting that out in detail today.
And I can only imagine how difficult some of that would have been for the victims' families, who we know have been in court, to listen to. I was just reading from one of our colleagues inside the court saying that both families were gripping each other's hands as they listened to that final sentence being read out. Of course, today is about them and them feeling they're getting their justice, but there are so many bigger questions that this case has raised as to how he was able to commit his crimes.
Well, that's right, and before sentence was passed, we heard incredibly powerful, moving, emotional impact statements from those affected. Sheryl's sister read out her own impact statement, addressing it to Levy, saying she wanted him to rot in prison, saying that how beloved Sheryl was, what a wonderful person she was, and how loved she was, and how much they feel her loss. And she set that out in incredibly powerful detail. She was clearly very moved. She was crying as she was doing so. And then Carmenza's daughter also read out her impact statement, talking about the huge, vast impact on their family for losing their beautiful mother, who she said how loved she was, how beloved she was, and she had recently become a grandmother just before she was murdered. And we also heard an impact statements read by the prosecutor from Sheryl's mother, and also from the surviving rape victim, who set out what a monster Levy was and is, and said she didn't want to waste any more breath on him after the statement. and she was defiant in what she said. And she has also received justice through this, and he has been sentenced for what he did to her as well, this man, Simon Levy.
Well done, Nida Simone, for your work on the case and following it throughout, and for your insight today as well. Thank you very much for joining us there from the Old Bailey, where today Simon Levy has been sentenced to a whole life order for a double murder and rape. We've heard some quite distressing details in the remarks that the judge gave as he was passing sentence today. And I do want to take a moment that if you have been affected by any of the issues that have been discussed as part of this story, bbc.co.uk/action line could be a starting point at least. There are lists of organisations that can help or point you in the right direction on many topics as well. There will be some coverage continuing on the BBC News website as this sentence continues to be dissected by some of our colleagues. But for now, from me, Priya, thank you very much for joining us.